What's up team, Andy Wayne from Cliniko here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to integrate Cliniko and Xero. Now this integration is not for everyone, so please before you integrate these two apps, check out our Cliniko and Xero integration explained video. I'll put the link to it in the description of this video. Please check it out, it's super important because a botched integration or integrating Cliniko and Xero where you don't have the right processes in place can cause massive issues. So do yourself a favor, check out that video first. With that out of the way, let's get into it. The first thing I want to clear up is the one-click integration button between Cliniko and Xero. I'll show you what I mean. Over in Cliniko, I head over to my settings. And I'll head over to integrations. This is where a lot of people believe just integrating stops. You click connect to Xero, you connect it to your Xero file, and away you go. On the surface of that, it looks pretty easy, right? The issue is there are a lot of other settings that you will want to have in place before doing this integration. Integrating Cliniko and Xero will also change how you reconcile things in Xero. And to reconcile things correctly, you need the right account to set up. So now that we know how not to integrate, just clicking this button, let's chat about what integration does exactly. To do that, I'm going to head over to our invoices in Cliniko, and let's just open up an invoice. Let's look at invoice from Larry Loose Limbs here on the 30th of June. So when you integrate Cliniko and Xero, you're allowing Cliniko to send information over to Xero. Specifically, it sends each individual invoice over to Xero, which means it sends things like the invoice details, the issue date, the invoice number. It sends the customer details, old mate Larry Loose Limbs from Australia. It sends the items on the invoice. So it'll send the details of this invoice, the massage therapy. It'll send how much the invoice was for. So this was for $110. It'll also send the tax amount. In this case, this was part of a physio service, so there was no tax. And when I say tax, I mean GST. And finally, it will send how the invoice was paid. So in this case, Larry Loose Limbs paid this invoice by Bitcoin. Okay, maybe this is a very progressive clinic and it's taking payments with Bitcoin. So with that knowledge, we know that Cliniko will send all this information over to Xero. We need to begin with step one, which is making sure we have the right accounts in Xero to receive all this information. When integrating, there are two types of accounts we need in Xero. So if we head over to our Xero file, account number one is a clearing account for each of our payment types. Account number two is an income account for the different payment type, for the different income types we have. So, sorry, I shouldn't have gone over to Xero. Let's head back to Cliniko. So to set up the right accounts in Xero, you want to head over to Cliniko and go to the payment types. So if we head to settings and we go to payment types, what we want to do here is take a screenshot or jot down all our different payment types. Okay, so let's open up a bit of a notepad and we're going to jot down all our different payment types. So we have high caps, credit card, FPOS. FPOS and credit card are really the same thing, so I'm happy to combine these two. Cash, other, and Bitcoin. All right, like I said, super progressive clinic. Next, we want to head over to the billable items. So back to settings and head over to the billable items and write down all the different categories of items we have. For example, all your different remedial massage billable items can go into one category, remedial massage. So for our clinic here, Spaghetti Hamstring Physio & Co, we've really got two types of categories. We've got physio and we've got physio, this one here, and we've got massage, this one here, this one here. So if you are a multidisciplinary clinic, You might have a handful, so you have things like physio income, pod income, speech path income, massage income, and so on. So I'm heading over to my notepad, trusty notepad here, and we have our billable items, and I've got physio and massage. You can also do the same for stock, but I find clinic owners generally prefer not to because it gets quite fiddly due to the number of stock items they can carry. But to do that, simply go over to products, and if you've got a bunch of different stock items, you can actually just group them. So for example, all foam rollers can just be titled under foam roller, and so on. In this case, I've only got two, so our stock items are foam, roller, and massage bowl. What I find is clinic owners generally just have all their stock sales go to one account in Xero, which is just called product sales. They don't bother tracking these separately, but each to their own. So we have our lists here. Once we have our lists, let's head back over to Xero. We're in Xero now, and the first step is to set up our accounts in Xero. The first set of accounts we will be creating are the clearing accounts. So to set up accounts in Xero, you head over to Accounting, Chart of Accounts. If using Xero is new to you, I'd really suggest chatting with your accountant or doing a bit of a Xero crash course. So this video will be based on assuming there's a fundamental knowledge of how to use Xero. A quick crash course on what a clearing account is. A clearing account acts like a temporary account receivable, meaning it tracks how much money is owed to you. So if you make a different clearing account for each of your different payment types, then you can easily track how much is owed to you for each different payment type. Example, if I have a clearing account for high caps, I can track how much money is owed to me from high caps. If I have a clearing account for FPOS, I can see how much money is owed to me from my bank, the merchant facility. Okay, I'll run through an example of how this works a bit later in the video, but for now, let's create our different clearing accounts. So to create a clearing account, you want to go to Add Account. The account type is going to be a current asset. With the code, give it whatever code you use for your internal chart of accounts. I'm going to go 679, I think. And let's add a clearing account. I'm going to call, okay, you can see 679 is taken, 682. Let's hope that's free. Great. I'm going to add in a clearing account, and I'm going to call this other clearing account. Okay. Super important. I want to tick this box which says enable payments to this account. If you do not tick this box, then bad things will happen. Well, not really. Things will just go wrong. So make sure that box is ticked. If you wanted, you could also show this on your dashboard in Xero by ticking show on dashboard watch list, but otherwise keep the other settings the same. So it's BAS excluded, enable payments to this account, current asset, and click save. All you need to do is repeat this process for all your different payment types. So you want a clearing account for, let's go back to our trusty list, for high caps, credit card / FPOS, cash, other, and, well, spaghetti hamstring takes Bitcoin. Doesn't mean you need to. So if I go to clearing account, you can see here are the ones that we prepared earlier. So here's an example of all the other ones that you might have. You might have cash, FPOS, general, work cover, Bitcoin, check, other, DVA, CTP, so on and so on. Okay, so that's your clearing accounts done. The next accounts you want to create are your income accounts. Once again, I'm going to go to add account, but this time the account type is revenue. With the code, once again, pick the code that you use internally. So I'm going to just pick, 120 because I know that's free, and I'll just add the different revenue types. This is where you can put in, you go back to your trusty list. We've got, make sure we want physio revenue, so we'll add an account for physio revenue, and we'll add an account for massage, so we'll add an account for massage revenue, and so on. Okay, so let's just call this physio revenue. Now, this is really important. The tax side of things, you want to make sure it is set to whatever that default tax rate for that revenue type is. So physio services are generally GST free, so I want to make sure this is set as GST free. Massage services, which are not part of physio at the moment of this video, do attract GST, so we want to make sure there's GST on income and so on. Once you've done that, you click save. Now, I already have a physio income account and a massage revenue account, so I won't add them, but for the purposes of video, I want to add another one. I'm going to add one for our massage bowls, okay? So let's go 1, 2, 3, massage bowl sales, and I know there's GST on them, and I'm going to click save. All right, our accounts in Xero are ready to go. Next, we head over to Cliniko to turn on the integration. Head back to Cliniko, click on settings, and we head to integrations. Once we're in integrations, now we get to click that magic button, click connect to Xero, and this will take a little bit of time, so I'm going to just pause the video. Now that it's loaded, it asks us to select the organization. I'm going to drop this down and a bunch of other client organizations will pop up. So I'm going to pause the video and select the right one, which will be Spaghetti Hamstring Physio & Co. All right, I've clicked next. So I selected Spaghetti Hamstring Physio & Co, which is our dummy organization in Xero, and I click next. You will be taken then to this screen, okay? This asks you, what is the default Xero sales account you want things to go to? Now, all you need to do, so this will automatically pull all the accounts you have in Xero in here. So you'll notice your accounts will show up here. I like to keep a generic sales account for default sales to go to. It rarely will be used because I'll show you in a moment how to map specific billable items in Cliniko into specific sales accounts that we just made in Xero. So for now, I'll just map this to a default sales account. Next, it'll ask us for the default Xero account for payment. So this is where if you don't select the payment type, or if there's a payment type which is new and you haven't mapped it in Xero, that's where Cliniko will send that payment type. This is why I like to have an other clearing account. This is essentially saying anything else outside of high caps, FPOS and so on can just go to other. And it also asks for a default tax rate. Being Spaghetti Hamstring Physio & Co, we're going to have set the default as GST free. Now I am going to save integration settings. These three defaults should rarely be used because we are going to map everything in a customizable way. Okay, so that's our integration now live. We now want to map things. We now want to go and link the different areas in Cliniko to the new accounts in Xero we've just made. The first area will be payment types. So we go to settings and we go to payment types. So remember each of our payment types, we can click on them. And this will ask us the Xero account for payments. Remember, it defaults to the default, which is what we just set as other before. Because I know this is high caps, I want Cliniko to send it to the high caps clearing account. That's why, remember, we made that account before. That's where it's coming useful. So I'll update the payment type. Next, I'll go to credit card. And I will send that to the FPOS clearing account. Credit card, FPOS, same. I'll do the same for FPOS, cash, other, and Bitcoin. So I'll just use the magic of video editing and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm about to update the last billable item. So in goes the Bitcoin clearing account. Done. That's all of our payment types mapped. Next, let's go to billable items. So we go to settings, we go to billable items, and I pop in here. So one by one, so I know PH stands for physio. So I'm going to go in here and this is going to ask, once again, which account do we want to map this to? It'll go to the default, but I know I want this to go to physio income. So I'm going to select physio income, which is the account we just made in Xero, and I'm going to update. This massage therapy one is without physio. It's going to be massage revenue, update. And I'll repeat the process for the rest of my billable items. So incoming, magic of video editing. All right, that's all our billable items done. And finally, you head over to the products. This is where a lot of business owners, clinic owners, decide not to map their products individually. So what they do is they make that default sales account product sales, because if you map each of your billable items, so each of your services, into specific income accounts, that means everything else by default will go to product sales, which means all of your products will automatically go to product sales. Some clinic owners prefer to map their products and map them to different areas in Xero. So let's look at this frothy foam roller. The default sales will be put to, didn't make a separate account for frothy foam rollers, did I? That's okay, let's pretend product sales is frothy foam rollers sales. Let's update that. And then we go back to the products page and we look at our spiky massage bowl. I'm going to edit this, and I want the account that spiky massage bowl sales to go to is massage bowl sales, and I will update the product. That's it. All right, congratulations. Your Cliniko and Xero is now integrated, and all invoices from this date forward will make their way over to Xero along with all the details. But before we sign off, let's have a look about how your usage of Xero will change. The difference is that you now have a new type of account in Xero that will show up in your balance sheet. That is the clearing account. Remember how earlier we were saying that a clearing account acts like a temporary accounts receivable. It tracks how much money is owed to you for each different payment type. So for example, if I head over to Xero, go into my spaghetti hamstring balance sheet, the balance sheet will pop up for the 30th of June 2021, and it will show, come on internet, I need you to be fast here because I'm on a video. It will show, for example, we have a high caps clearing account of 2,530, okay? So this is not in brackets, it's a positive number in the current assets part, meaning it's a number in assets that is owed to us, okay? High capped clearing account shows 2,530.28. This means $2,530.28 worth of invoices in Cliniko were paid by high caps, and I have yet to receive the money. If this number is positive, it means we are owed the money. This is why I said create a separate clearing account for each different payment type, because now you can track which payment type owes you how much. This is also where your habits on how you use Xero change. Previously, as you receive income into Xero, you may have reconciled things to your sales accounts. So if we head over to our dashboard and head over to reconcile, let's not apply these rules. If we head over to reconcile, what would have happened previously? Maybe when you saw $100 from high caps coming in, you'd put this and you'll just put this to your generic sales account. This is where your habits will need to change. Now that Cliniko and Xero is integrated with clearing accounts, you do not need to put anything into sales in Xero. So don't reconcile anything in sales to Xero, as long as you have everything going through Cliniko, because Cliniko will automatically put things to sales for you. Remember, that's why we set up all those different sales income accounts. Instead, as you receive money in your bank account from your different payment types, you want to reconcile these against the respective clearing accounts. So high caps will go to high caps clearing account, and I'm going to click OK. You can make rules for these. So I've already got to set up a rule here where this FPOS goes to the FPOS clearing account. High caps goes to high caps clearing account, and so on. Remember what we said earlier. When an invoice is paid using a particular payment type, Cliniko will tell Xero to increase that clearing account. This tells us that we are owed money from that payment type. Okay? When we reconcile money received for that payment, like we're doing here, against that payment type, we're telling Xero that we have received the money and it's no longer owing for that payment type. So what will happen is we will see that clearing account go down. So if I go to my balance sheet again, now that I've reconciled a few things, so we're in our balance sheet, I've reconciled a few things. I know some of those were after 30 June. So what I'll do is I'll run the balance sheet as of today. And you can see, remember, our high caps clearing account before was sitting at $2,530.28. It's now sitting at $2,430.28. That's because we reconciled $100 worth of high caps money received into this clearing account. So as Cliniko sends invoices across to Xero, it'll say, hey, we're owed money by high caps, and this number goes up. As we reconcile and as we receive that money in Xero and we reconcile it against the right clearing accounts, this number will start going down saying, hey, we've received the money, Let's run through an example where we're pushing through a full invoice from Cliniko into Xero. We're over in Cliniko, let's make an invoice. So let's create an invoice as of today. Patient, let's go back to old mate Larry Loose Limbs. And he owes us a bit of money, let's just ignore that. And let's just say he went to a standard physio consult, okay? And let's also add a product. Let's say he bought a spiky massage ball. Actually, let's go frothy foam roller and massage therapy instead. There we go. So he owes us a nice round figure of $146. I'm going to create this invoice. So how did Larry Loose Limbs pay for this? Let's just say he paid for this $146 invoice, all using Bitcoin. So he paid this whole invoice, which is this one, all using Bitcoin. I don't know how he did that. We don't receive Bitcoin into the bank account, but let's just say he did. Let's save the payment and we're done. Now we wait for Cliniko to push the invoice across to Xero. Sometimes if you're sick of waiting, what you can do is you can go to the settings function in Cliniko and push through the invoice manually. So I'm going to go to integrations. And I'm going to synchronize an invoice from a previous date. And let's just go synchronize invoices from yesterday to today. So this manually forces a push through to Xero. With the power of video editing, let's go into a time machine and fast forward. Bang, we're back. All right, our invoice has successfully made its way from Cliniko to Xero. So here's our invoice in Cliniko, invoice number 0008, dated 14th of September 2021. We've sold a massage therapy and a frothy foam roller, total 146 with tax of 1327 to Larry Loose Limbs. Let's head over to Xero. We can see we've got invoice number 8 here for Larry Loose Limbs. If we click on that, we can see it's on the 14th of September, invoice number 8 to Larry Loose Limbs, frothy foam roller, massage therapy. Bang, 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 tax there. See, it's all being ticked off. And better yet, our payment type, this invoice is also marked as paid because Larry Loose Limbs paid it on the day. And it's marked as paid against the Bitcoin clearing account. That's our integration with Magic. So before we do any reconciling, let's see what we mean. In this case, what's happened is Cliniko told Xero, hey, we've made a sale of $146. So what Xero will do is Xero will recognize income of $146 in the different profit and loss areas. Okay. So if we run the profit and loss report for this month, you can see we have got total product sales of $32 and remedial massage revenue of $100. Now you might be thinking, why doesn't that equal to $146 exactly? It's because this does not include GST. All right. So just as a double check, you can, if I go 132.73 times by 1.1, which we grossed up for GST, there's our $146. So Cliniko has successfully told Xero, hey Xero, here's $146 worth of sales, 132 of it being your income and the remaining being the old tax person's income. So income, success, and this is why we separate things like we do. Next, what Cliniko tells Xero is, hey Xero, we've just had an invoice of $146 and that was paid by Bitcoin. So until that Bitcoin hits your bank account, you are owed $146 in Bitcoin. So how do we see that? Let's run the balance sheet for today. So we're running the balance sheet for today. Remember, we said if there's a number which is positive in here, it means it is owed to you. So you can see we have Bitcoin clearing account. It's got $256 in there because Larry Loose Limbs actually came twice to Spaghetti Hamstring Physio & Co. and paid using Bitcoin twice. So when I integrated just now, you can see it's sent that 146 here, and there was a balance of 110 earlier. Okay, so there's that 146. So what this is doing is Cliniko telling Xero, hey, Larry Loose Limbs came and paid 146 in Bitcoin, but we don't think we've received the money yet. So the clearing account, being like a accounts receivable, is telling us we are owed this 146 in Bitcoin. This is where, when I mentioned before, that your habits on reconciling Xero will change after you integrate, comes into play. Right now you can see we are owed this 146. Total balance owing is 256 because we had a bit of another $110 owing before. Let's assume we finally see the Bitcoin coming into our bank account. Once again, I know it doesn't make sense why Bitcoin's coming into a bank account, but let's just go with the example. Oh, look at that. 14th of September, we received Bitcoin of $146. So let's call this Bitcoin, and we're going to send this to the Bitcoin clearing account, okay? Because the payment type was Bitcoin, we're putting it to the Bitcoin clearing account. I'm going to click OK. Now if I go back to the balance sheet, remember it was sitting at 256 before. Now let's go back and have a look at what it is now. All right, I'm running the balance sheet as of today. Lo and behold, our Bitcoin clearing account balance went from 256 to 110. Essentially, Cliniko told Xero, hey, you're owed $146 in Bitcoin. When we receive that money in Xero, we reconcile it to the Bitcoin clearing account, and now that clearing account comes down. So Xero is essentially saying, hey, we've received the money, no alarm, we can bring that account receivable dollar figure down. And you can see that there is Larry Loose Limbs paying the Bitcoin into our account. And that's it. Bit of a long video. I wanted to make sure we were covering everything. Once again, if you made it to the end of the video, well done. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to type it into the comments or reach out. And please watch the Cliniko and Xero integration explained video, because this integration is not for everyone. It can make your life very easy, but if you don't do it right or don't have the necessary processes in place, it can make your life very hard. That's it, team. Enjoy the integration between these two wonderful apps, and until next time, Peace.